Hello, I'm Harry. Today, I'm telling you about a movie where a kind man takes in two strange girls in the middle of the night, but gets tortured and buried in the ground and almost lost his life. Knock knock, the story started. Evan and his wife lived in a villa. The couples were affectionate. They had a pair of well-behaved and lovely children. One day, the family discussed going on vacation together, but Evan was busy completing his model design. He could only stay at home to work. There was his cat accompany him. In the middle of the night, there was an uncontrollable heavy rain. Someone was knocking on the door. Two girls, Genesis and Belle, said very politely that they came to visit a friend but got lost and didn't know where the friend lived. Evan had never heard of their friend's name. Why don't you give them a call? Genesis said she didn't bring her phone, and Belle's phone was damaged. They had been walking in the rain for 20 minutes. Belle said that her legs were trembling. Evan refused to help them. He had a wife and children. He didn't want to get involved with strange women. They got really confused, and Belle sneezed. Evan wasn't a cold-hearted man. He took some tissue for Belle. Seeing them standing pitifully for such a long time, Evan let them come in to make a call. But Genesis said that the numbers were kept on the phone. Whether he believed or not, they couldn't remember them. Evan smiled awkwardly. They asked Evan if they could use the computer to contact their friend. Once they got the address, they'd leave immediately. They'd not cause any trouble. Evan thought carefully, looking at their sincere faces. They weren't any kind of monsters that can take down a mature man like him. Evan invited two people into the house. He prepared towels and tablets for them. The two sisters were very happy. Belle said, "You are such a good person. No one would easily let strangers into the house these days." Evan said, "You two don't look like bad guys. Anyway, it's not easy for two of you beat me down." Belle said that wasn't sure. She had practiced boxing. Done saying, she showed off some moves. Genesis checked the address with a tablet. They realized that they had the wrong address. The correct one was just one word different. The friend they were looking for was not in this area. This was so troublesome. Evan decided to call them a car. The two sisters said gracefully to him, "Sorry for troubling." The car would be there to pick him up within 45 minutes. The two sisters asked to use a dry cleaning machine to dry the clothes and take a shower. Evan could not find a reason to refuse them. He offered to put the wet phone in the rice jar, so that the phone can be used again. Evan took the clothes to the dryer. After coming out, he saw that the two girls were playing in the living room with his dog. The antique record player attracted their attention. The three started chatting. The girls began to touch Evan. Evan quickly changed positions and kept a distance from them. But the girls kept talking about some explicit topics. This made Evan uncomfortable. After all, he was already married and even had two children. He must not betray his family. Belle deliberately touched his shoulder again. The girls launched an attack on Evan. Just monsters trying to eat Xuan Zhang, they crazily hinted at him. Evan moved away again. The car he called would be here in 20 minutes. Evan repeatedly refused the girls. But they said that human beings were at the top of the food chain. We should not be restricted by monogamy. This was against human nature. Mom, whose sayings is this? Belle also said that even if her husband was married, he would also like to be with other girls. Seeing the two sisters so clingy, Evan could only laugh awkwardly. "What are your occupations?" Genesis said that they were flight attendants. After that, the two began to serve him like a passenger. This was the third time Evan moved away from them, but the girls kept tempting him with words and eyes. The car he called would arrive in 5 minutes. Genesis asked to go to the bathroom. Belle stayed to listen to the DJ. Her body swayed uncontrollably to the music. It was difficult for Evan to look away. He had to keep playing DJ to relieve his inner restlessness. The taxi finally came to the door. Evan immediately packed their clothes and cell phone. He wanted to send the girls out immediately, but they hid in the bathroom and refused to come out. Evan had to force himself to go in. The taxi waited and saw no one coming out. It drove away. When he woke up the next day, the girls had already ruined the kitchen. They used all kinds of methods to make Evan annoyed. He offered to send them home immediately, but they had no intention to leave, even forced them to get out. But Belle hid in the closet again and refused to leave. He had to carry her away forcibly. After the experience of last night, he was very panicked. He waited for the girls to come out, but they were trying to vandalize the sculpture. Evan couldn't bear it and decided to call the police. But they said that he'd be sentenced to at least 20 years in prison for what happened last night. Evan was dumbfounded. Sure enough, there is no free dinner in the world. The girls started giggling and said that this was a lie. They wanted to see how scared he was. Evan said, "Okay, how much do you want?" The girls suddenly went crazy. "Who do you think we are? Then, what are you doing and what do you want?" Just then, Evan's private doctor came to treat all the wound on his shoulder. Evan didn't want people know about his scandal, so he had to find a way to make her go. Unexpectedly, Genesis deliberately came out. Now Evan couldn't explain himself anymore. The girls wanted to stay and not to leave. Evan pressed Genesis to the wall, really wanting to pinch her to death. But he'd become a criminal if he did so. He still called the police to report about their illegal intrusion. They agreed to let Evan send them home thousands of miles away. The nightmare was finally over. Evan returned home and began to clean up the room that was messed up. At night, there was a strange noise in the living room. The photo of his wife was thrown on the ground. He sat down to pick it up but got hit on the head. Belle put on the clothes of Evan's daughter. She tortured Evan madly. They filmed the scene. Evan struggled and tried to get rid of them. However, Genesis was ruthless. She directly stabbed a fork into his injured shoulder. The pain made him lose consciousness. When he woke up, he was tied to a chair. He had to play with their games. If he answered wrong, they'd use high-pitched sound to hurt his ears. Fortunately, his friend suddenly visited. The girls pretended to be Evan's niece. The friend saw that the sculpture was vandalized. He was about to call the police. As a result, Belle quietly took his asthma spray. Evan reminded his friend not to provoke the two lunatics. When he went out, he saw the statue being smashed. He got an asthma attack. The girls didn't let him take back the spray. They even made him fall to the ground. Two crazy women were still laughing crazily. Then they dried him with glue and made the friend into a statue and put him in the car. Then, they continued to play games with Evan. They thought that Evan didn't care about his family at all, so they wanted to punish him. Evan began roaring, "What you said is nonsense. Last night, I am the one being forced. It was you two seduced me. I am the real victim here. Now you want to kill me? What the hell is this?" After hearing that, the girls could say back. So they decided to bury him alive. While the two were digging the hole, Evan used the tablet and dialed his wife's phone. But he didn't have chance to say anything. The girls had already come back and threw the tablet away. Then, the girls began to imitate his child again. It turned out that they had been eyeing Evan's family. This was a long-planned conspiracy. The two girls began to mess up the house with the thought to destroy everything. They found a gun in a vase. Now Evan was too terrified to move an inch. The three of them started playing hide and seek. He had to comply with their game. He finally ran out of the villa but got tripped and fell into the lunatic's hands. On the third morning, Evan was tied up and thrown onto the yard. He was put in the hole and made to watch himself getting buried. Eventually, there was only his head left. Evan said that he'd do anything if they didn't hurt him. Genesis pretended to knock him down with a stone. Every cell in his body was trembling with fright. He realized that he was being played again. At the end of the film, the girls posted the video they filmed before to ruin Evan's life. The lunatics finally left. At this time, the villa had become a mess. Just then, the wife came back with the children. How can Evan explain all this to his wife? This movie is called Knock Knock. Don't open the door to strangers in the middle of the night. The bad guys may use sympathetic tricks to harm you and your family. Don't forget to like and follow me to meet in our next video.